In closing out this module, we're going to take a look at the fourth of the 4Ps and looking at marketing channels, such as retailing and distribution, wholesaling, and things like this. But one of the things to help, I think, understand what distribution is all about is let's take a look at this commercial. You're all going to recognize it. It's my old buddy Vince.
Hi, it's Vince with ShamWow. You'll be saying wow every time you use this towel. It's like a chamois, it's like a towel, it's like a sponge. A regular towel doesn't work wet. This works wet or dry. This is for the house, the car, the boat, the RV. ShamWow holds 20 times its weight in liquid. Look at this. It just does the work. Why do you want to work twice as hard? Doesn't trip. Doesn't make a mess. Wring it out. You wash it in the washing machine. Made in Germany. You know the Germans always make good stuff. You can cut it in half. Use one as a bath mat. Drain your dishes with the other one. Use one as a towel. Olympic divers, they use it as a towel. Look at that. Completely dry. Put a wet sweater. Roll it up. It dries your sweaters. Here's some cola. Wine, coffee, cola, pet stains. Not only is the damage going to be on top, there's your mildew. That is going to smell. See that? The most of it. We're going to do this in real time. Look at this. Put on the spill, turn it over without even putting any pressure. 50% of the cola right there. You follow me, camera guy? The other 50%, the color starts to come up. No other towel is going to do that. It acts like a vacuum. And look at this, virtually dry on the bottom. See what I'm telling you? ShamWow, you'll be saying wow every time.
I can't live without it. I just love it.
Oh my gosh, I don't even buy paper towels anymore.
If you're going to wash your cars or any kind of vehicle, you'd be out of your mind not to own one of these.
All I can say is sham wow.
You're going to spend $20 every month on paper towels anyway. You're throwing your money away. The mini ShamWows are for everything, for everyday use. This lasts 10 years. This lasts a week. I don't know, it sells itself. The ShamWow sells for $19.95, but you get one for the house, one for the car, two for the kitchen and bathroom. But if you call now, within the next 20 minutes, because we can't do this all day, we'll give you a second set absolutely free. So that's 8 ShamWows for $19.95. Comes with a 10-year warranty. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-577-8038. That's 1-800-577-8038. ShamWow is not available in stores and is made in Germany. Beware of ShamWow imitators. Call 1-800-577-8038. That's 1-800-577-8038. Call now.
So if we think about ShamWow, think about what they had to do, all the activities that they had to undertake to get their product sold into the customer's hand. They had to create the product, of course. They had to warehouse the product. They had to stock the product. They had to ship the product. They had to collect the money for the product. They had to create the advertisements and go out and hire Vince to create this infomercial that was on television. They had to do every single activity to get the product into the stores. But if we think about it from a retailer, what if they'd stuck somebody else in the middle there? What if they'd been able to sell to the retailer? Well, the retailer would have been able to handle sales to the customer. The retailer would have been able to handle distribution to the customer, handled returns from the customer, and all these different things. But because ShamWow decided at the beginning, or had no choice, but to sell direct, they had to do all the activities. So the key thing to think about with distribution or place was that somebody has to do the job. No matter who you hire, if you don't hire anybody, you're doing it yourself. If you bring in a wholesaler or a retailer, somebody else is doing it for you. And for that efforts, they're going to get paid. They're going to get part of the sales price. So if we think about a marketing channel, we can look at it in this way. It's a set of interdependent organizations participating in the process of making a product or service available for use or consumption. The goal of distribution, though, is to get the right product to the right person at the right place and at the right time. There are various forms of intermediaries. You have merchants, you have agents, and facilitators. Merchants are such as wholesalers and retailers. They buy and take title to the product or the merchandise, and then they resell the merchandise. Agents, on the other hand, which are kind of like brokers or representative sales agents, they search for customers and may negotiate on the producer's behalf, but they do not take title of the goods. They don't own the goods at any time. Facilitators, though, such as shippers, independent warehouses, banks, and even ad agencies, they assist in the distribution, but again, they don't take title to the goods, nor do they negotiate purchases or sales. When using channels, we have to understand that they serve an important role. But for this role, they're going to take a percentage of the profits or a percentage of the selling price. For example, if we take ShamWow again, well, if they use a channel, if they use a wholesaler or they use retailers, those channel members are going to take between 30 and 50% or even more in some cases of the ultimate selling price. Advertising, on the other hand, it accounts for about 5 to 7% of the selling price. As a manufacturer, you can put your efforts into many different ways of getting the product into the customer's hand. You can use what we call a push strategy. Here, what we're looking at is we're going to the wholesaler. We'll say, hey, please carry our new product. We're going to the retailer, say, please stock our new product on the shelves. We want to have it out there for the customer to come in. We also have what's called a pull strategy. And a pull strategy is we're putting our efforts into focusing on attracting the consumer, getting the consumer interested in our product. Oftentimes we're going to use both of these. For the most part, we're going to use both of these. But with a pull strategy, going to the consumer, giving them information such as through advertising, giving them coupons or any other type of information to attract them or build their desire for the product. When they go into the store and look for the product and can't find it, they will go to the store manager or somebody and go, hey, you carry product X. Well, if a store manager hears that enough, they're going to go back to their boss, to the corporate headquarters, and say, hey, I've got a lot of people asking me for product X. They're going to then turn and go back to the manufacturer or the wholesaler, say, hey, do you carry this product? So it's many, but we are going to use both of these in trying to get our new products into the marketplace. Because of changes in the retail environment, companies today are using a multitude of channels. They're using different ways of getting the product into the customer's hand. We'll use the sales force, direct mail, telemarketing, and of course even the internet. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to make sure that every opportunity that we have to sell our product is going to be available, and we're using all the tools that are available to us. One of the primary reasons that we are using marketing channels, using some others such as rather than the manufacturer to promote our product, is that, for example, think about a retailer. A local retailer, has more information about you, the consumer, than the manufacturer does. Fred Meyer or any of the other retailers, because of their loyalty programs, they will know that I bought a box of cornflakes yesterday rather than Kellogg's, which has no idea who I am. So in this case, the channel are better equipped to be able to carry out their function. Members of the channel, they have better contacts, greater experience, specialization, and higher scale of operation than if I was trying to do it myself as the manufacturer. Some of the channel functions and different flows of processes, if you will. We have the forward flow, which is basically the transportation of the product from manufacturer to the retailer and ultimately the consumer. We have the communication aspect. All of these things are what we call the forward flow. We also have a dual flow that flows back and forth between the two parties, such as information, negotiation, financing, risk-taking. All of these are things that are basically back and forth flow between the retailer and the manufacturer. And then, of course, we have the backward flow coming from the retailer back to the manufacturer, such as ordering new product or even making payments. Because the retailer is collecting the money from each individual consumer, they're in turn sending that money back, although in a different form, because they're buying the product earlier, and the money is flowing backwards, if you will. But one of the biggest aspects of beneficial aspects of having a wholesaler or retailer in between the manufacturer and the consumer is that intermediaries, they make the markets more efficient. For example, if we look here, we have 6 manufacturers and 6 customers, 6 consumers. That's basically a total of 36 contact points. Imagine that if you had to get information about every single product that you wanted to buy in a category, say you were in the market for a television, you would have to contact the 6 manufacturers, let's say, and find out information from them. You would have to make appointments, you would have to see the product, all of these different things. But if we put a retailer right in the middle of this, then it becomes 12 contacts. The retailer has 6 contacts with the manufacturer, and the customer has 6 contacts with the retailer. It makes things much more efficient. But there are varying levels of channels that we can use. We can use what's called a 0 level, where we, as the consumer with ShamWow, for example, buy straight from the manufacturer. We can also have a 1 level. Here the manufacturer is selling to the retailer, who in turn sells to the consumer. A 2 level Basically, you have a manufacturer, a wholesaler, retailer, and consumer. And then, of course, the three level, you could have another person in the middle of this, another intermediary such as a jobber that is handling a lot of these activities. It kind of stays the same in the business-to-business world. Most of the levels here are basically at the manufacturer, where the manufacturer is selling to the industrial customer. But they also have industrial distributors, and different levels with manufacturing reps or manufacturing sales branches. All of these things, again, adding one more level just increases the number of complexity that we have. Let's now focus down to the retailer. In retailing, what we're looking at here is all the activities in selling goods or services directly to final consumers for personal, non-business use. Now, when we think about a retailer, one of the benefits that they provide is what we call the utility aspect. Here, basically retailers provide the product when we need it, where it's needed, when we need it, and typically in the form of a product that is needed by the consumer. So the retailer provides these utilities, and we're grateful for that. We're willing to pay more. Oftentimes, consumers will want a product, and they can order it through Amazon or online, and it may take a day or two to get there. But if you need it right away and a retailer has it, you're willing to pay a little bit more. Retailers also have the aspect with in being able to facilitate the payment between the consumer and the manufacturer. Retailers at times have been able to, with small manufacturers, they've been able to give loans or prepay for products so that the manufacturer can go ahead and produce the number of products that they need. Retailers also allow for the education of consumers on certain products. Here, the retailer can demonstrate what the product functions and how it uses, and a potential buyer is able to actually see, touch, and feel the product before making a purchase. Retailers also can handle returns. Oftentimes, when a consumer purchases a product, one of the problems that they have with pulling the trigger on making the buy, what happens if I don't like it? Am I going to have to ship it back? Am I going to have to go through all this trouble? By having that local retailer, we feel a little bit more comfortable in go ahead and buying. There are various types of retailers out there. And again, here's basically a list and some of the examples of each type of retailer. For example, with a specialty store, you have FAO Schwarz, which is a toy store, and you have David's Bridal, which is, sells wedding dresses and such. You have category killers they're called category killers because they focus on a single category. For example, Office Max focuses only on office supplies. Toys R Us focuses mainly on toys. And again, the rest of them you're pretty much aware of and what they do. In the big scheme of our economy, though, retailing is very important. Retailing accounts for 6.2% of the GNP of the United States, has about 10.5% of the U.S. workforce, about 10% of all the businesses are retailing, and total retail sales are about $4.4 trillion and growing every year. But the retail environment is changing. You have store versus non-store competition, such as an online retailer versus a traditional brick and mortar retailer. You have global retailers such as Tesco. You have Costco. Costco's in a couple of countries, but you have Walmart. It's in many countries. You have Carrefour out of France that is a worldwide retailer. Everything's changing. And think about some of the new forms of retailing. You will have many places that will have not only a convenience store, gas station, they'll also have food service. They'll have a McDonald's or Burger King. Some of them will even have doctor's offices and anything like this. Because again, once you've got the land, once you've got people coming to it, then it's going to attract the ability for other people to set up shop or set up their business. And then of course you have giant retailers versus the local retailers. Well, things like Walmart have pretty much put many of the small businesses in many small towns out of business. But one of the fastest growing areas is what we call non-store retailing. Non-store retailing involves sales through vending machines, self-serve kiosks, the internet, and smartphones. Non-store retailing accounts for about 4 to 6% of all retail sales, but this is projected to grow to closer to 10 to 12% within the next 10 years. So one of the things that is changing is that the younger generation, your generation, you have very different shopping habits than baby boomers such as myself. Window shopping is out. Here we're browsing online is in. The other thing that's changing is that it's easier. I mean, how many of you have bought something on your computer? How about your smartphone? You ever bought anything there? Again, all of this is changing the way that retailers are having to operate and connect with customers. On the next couple of slides, I'm going to give you some of the examples of non-store retailing, primarily in the terms of vending machines. I mean, a traditional vending machine, you're fully aware of what it is. You've used them all the time. But there are new ways, new types of vending machines. Redbox. This is a vending service. That's all they do is they vend DVDs. Sephora basically sells high-end cosmetics. This stuff is not inexpensive. It's pretty pricey at times, but people are spending a lot of money there. Apple has their own vending machines where you can buy an iPod, you can buy an iPhone, you can buy an iPad at a vending machine. Here's one for gold. There's one of these I saw in Vegas. There's another, there's like 3 or 4 all over the world. You buy little ingots of gold based on the spot price of what gold is costing at that moment. How about live crab? Well, this is one from China. The machine, vending machine, is kept at a very low temperature so that the crab are kind of in a dormant state. Take them out, or you buy it, take it home, boil them, and eat. This one just a little, advertisement for the smart car, so small it can come in a vending machine. Next, let's look at wholesaling, which is all the activities in selling goods and services to those who buy for resale or business use. So wholesaling, again, there's many different types of wholesalers. The types could be merchant wholesalers. Again, they take title to the merchandise. Full service and limited service jobbers and distributors are all what we call merchant wholesalers. Full service wholesalers, they carry stock, maintain a sales force, offer credit, make deliveries and provide management assistance to retailers. There's also limited service, brokers and agents, and specialized wholesalers that you can read about here. The functions that a wholesaler undertakes, though, are basically the physical distribution. A wholesaler will, they'll collect product from the manufacturer, and then they'll distribute it to smaller retailers throughout the area they serve. They will also store product in their warehouses, simplifies payment, they collect information, inject capital back into the manufacturer and oftentimes into the retailer, and they provide technical support to both the retailer and the manufacturer. Wholesalers serve a primary role, but they are going to earn their percentage, anywhere from 8 to 12% in some cases. The wholesaler's primary function, though, is in selling and promoting goods. Think about a manufacturer. They would have to send salespeople out to all the retailers to get in contact with them and make the shipments to each one of those. A wholesaler, again, puts that other level in between the retailers and the manufacturer and makes things much easier. The wholesaler also will, again, warehouse. They'll manage stock for a manufacturer in a certain geographic area. But the two things that they do very well, especially for smaller retailers, is they allow the retailer to buy in the assortment that they want and also to break the bulk down. For example, a wholesaler will buy, say, 1,000 cases of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes from Kellogg's. They will go through, but there's not a retailer, a single store that wants 1,000 cases. They'll break it down. Okay, I'll send you 1 case of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. I'll send you another case of Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats. I'll send another case of this. So they'll break down large volume into smaller assortments of the products that they actually need. Wholesalers will also handle transportation. They will take a complete train car of product from a manufacturer, but then they'll do the transportation down to the local retail area. They also provide a lot of market information because they're in the business to sell product. The better that they are able to help the manufacturer sell their product, the more money they're actually going to earn. They help, again, with financing. They take risk. They bear some of the risk for the manufacturer. And they are also responsible for training retailers into how to better sell their products. The last aspect of distribution looks at the logistics that marketing involves itself in. Here we're looking at supply chain management. And for marketers, we have to also make sure that we have the product from a manufacturing perspective. We have to make sure that we have the raw materials. We have to make sure that our products are getting shipped out and the right assortment and right allotment that we're trying to make. So supply chain management deals with all of this aspect of getting the product from from the start process, if you will, raw material, all the way through to shipping it out to the retailer. So these are things that marketers have to deal with. And what's the best form of transportation? How do we get product moving from one location to another? You know, years ago I worked for a drug chain, and we were basically, the drug chain was about 300 stores in the South. And one of the furthest areas that we went was a town in Louisiana. So we would send one of our trucks from our warehouse in Birmingham, and we would ship all the merchandise that that retail store needed for the week. When it was empty, the truck would turn around and drive home. However, somebody finally figured out that, you know what, we're passing one of our suppliers, somebody that was making little juice drinks. We're passing right by their warehouses on the way back to Birmingham with an empty truck. So we talked to the manufacturer, said, hey, why don't we do the shipping back to our warehouse for you, and you kind of give us a discount at whatever percentage it was. It worked for both ways. Well, that was one of the logistical aspects that helped both the manufacturer and also helped the retailer. Well, that's the end of Module 2, where we've looked at the marketing aspect. Your second exam, ready to take if you are, but the deadline for this exam is June 26th. Good luck.